Welcome, everybody, to the very first Hearthstone tournament here at Paradigm. We're pretty excited to get it going. I think we're going to be showing to start the match between Sky and Great Ganarbi.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be pretty exciting. I'm always excited to see a really good card game going on. I'm pretty new to the Hearthstone scene, but
I was playing Hearthstone back in beta. I've enjoyed a lot of the game. Definitely some metas I liked better than others, but that's how card games go. All right. Jumping straight into game one. The way that we're working today, we aren't doing the most common format for a Hearthstone tournament. Instead, we're doing best 2 out of 3. You bring 3 decks, and you can use any of those decks in any of the 3 matches. So, I mean, if you really want to, if you had a deck that lost, but you've got a confident feeling that you're going to be able to pull out the win with it next time, you do have the ability to do that in our tournament today. It's a lot of good Druid cards have been around since the very beginning. Wrath and Wild Growth just never seem to grow old. Hadronox, though, that's a fairly new card in the grand scheme of things. I'll be interested to see how that works out for him, especially with how high up the mana curve that is.
So for that last card that I saw, that had like a really cool border on it. Is that like a legendary creature or?
Yep, their legendary creatures are noted by the dragon that's around them.
Okay. And then I'm assuming that was also a creature because it looked like a health bar and then an attack power.
That's right, that's right. And it's occurring to me, I don't know, does it look like anybody down there is using headphones right now?
Yeah, it looks like they are all using headphones at the moment.
Okay, regardless, I would say let's go ahead and mostly talk about what we see on the field just for the sake of avoiding any spoilers for the other player. So the Paladin getting started out with some very classic small minions. Seems highly probable that he's going to go for a sort of flood the board and buff strategy from there.
Okay, so that's pretty cool. It reminds me of a little bit of Magic the Gathering, where people would place down counters and buff them with 1/1 counters.
Yeah, very traditional white weenie style deck. Druid, gonna go ahead and ping and take that card advantage. Probably looking to cycle through for, I would assume, a great deal of removal, although it's going to be hard to keep up with the Paladin's hero power. 2 1/1s every turn is not the easiest to keep up with in some formats.
Alrighty. What other metas are within this game? So you bring out the tokens right away. So he had 4 tokens like right on the field first turn, it looked like. So what other strategies are there?
So with Druid, I think the 2 most common archetypes that we consistently see are Ramp Druid and Taunt Druid. I don't know that it's entirely clear yet exactly what Great Ganarbi is going to be playing. But basically the difference there would be one is highly defensive and the other is mostly Ramp Druid focuses on getting out extra mana as quick as it possibly can to get the big threats and the big bombs down on the field and sort of lay in from there. You sort of sacrifice a lot of your early game pressure, but that's tough to do when your opponent is dropping consistent small creatures and keeping up that kind of pressure.
And it looks like he's already done quite a bit of damage to him, 7, and now he's hitting him with an extra 6 too, so he's going to be extra 4, because the other creature that you laid down probably had Summoning Sickness.
Yes, that's correct. You can see the Z's coming out of it.
Okay. Is it called Summoning Sickness in Hearthstone, or is it something else?
I don't know what it's called in Hearthstone. I'm not sure if it's ever been given an official name. I assume it has.
He's just sleeping. He's taking a little nap before he goes into battle.
Alright, so Druid's got some serious life gain there, gaining 6 armor twice, it looked like. That's definitely going to stall out a little bit longer. Popped him almost all the way back up to full health.
Holy cow. So he has now 11 armor and 17 health, and he just gained a lot of life from,
the 11 armor is sort of what I'm referring to as health there, yeah. Okay. And his hero power allows him to gain a small amount of armor as well as a little bit of attack for 1 turn. And that is a powerful tool, obviously, to sort of consistently clear off those minions with 1 health.
Okay. And so you said the druids must have had two strategies: either flood with mana for the big guys, or
There are some other druid strategies. I just saw that Hearthstone nerfed Aviana, which is a big legendary card that was a major tool for Malagos Druid,
Okay.
which is a very funny deck where you'd sort of get down several cards that buffed spell power by a very significant amount at the same time, and then hit face for lethal in one turn.
Oh my, that sounds a little overpowered to me.
It was, it took a lot of setup, and presumably it still takes a lot of setup now, but even more now that Aviana has been moved from a 9-cost card to a 10-cost card. Paladin definitely slowing down a little bit. The initial rush has largely been taken care of by the Druid's clear and life gain to sort of fend off that early threat. We'll see how Sky is going to respond to that from here. Clearly weighing his options. Oh, Leroy Jenkins, a very aggressive card, but having to use it for trading, which is never what you want to have to use Leroy for if possible. You really want to be able to use him as your finisher. Although, yeah, it allows them to drop the corridor creeper for free.
Now, what does the corridor creeper do? Is he just with his 2 and 5?
Just a body, but it's still a pretty big deal. That right there is huge,
Oh my
though.
gosh.
Suddenly, the entire pace of the game has been shifted.
Yeah, he brought out just a bunch of big creatures. He probably used all of his. Yeah, he used all of his mana for it, but it's looking pretty good for. What was his name again?
Great Ganarbi.
Great Ganarbi.
Sky looking to pick up maybe another taunt, try and slow down the game, but I mean, at that point, it's certainly not his pace anymore. He wants to be the aggressor here, and he's been very much put on his heels.
He had a lot of aggression at the beginning of the game, but it slowed down as soon as his minions went. I mean,
well, the Druid, I'm sure, was very happy to get 2 Wraths early on so that he could set up that double removal with card draw.
Okay. I'm assuming card draw is very important to this game. The more cards you have in your hand, the more options you can weigh out. And...
Card draw is important to every card game. They are the #1 resource that you have at your disposal.
So why isn't anything taking damage right now?
In this particular case, you can see that the Paladin added Divine Shield to all the minions on his side of the field.
Okay.
Divine Shield allows the minion to take any hit without taking damage. Sort of pops the bubble after that, but it allowed him to basically force the Druid to use Swipe just to get rid of the Divine Shields instead of using it to clear the unending onslaught of 1/1s that Paladins can turn out.
Alrighty, so it's kind of like a, in Magic terms, it'd be a fog. You would reduce all the damage that'd be taken from it.
Yeah, that's a good example. Yeah, the Paladin is managing to successfully really keep refilling his hand and therefore refill the field, but I think he's just going to struggle to get through what the Druid has from a size perspective. And we've moved into the late game, which distinctly favors a deck that runs larger cards the way the Druid is. Trading out his field, though, to deal with that minion. Drop a big ol' spider. And then flood the field. But he used Naturalize to do it, which gives his opponent 2 cards. I suppose he thinks that he can take it from here. I guess I would say that this deck appears to be sort of a mixture of Ramp and Taunt Druid, judging by this field.
Okay.
So Taunt is very important in Hearthstone for people who don't normally play it, where in a game like Magic the Gathering, you attack your opponent directly, and then your opponent gets to decide which creatures defend. In Hearthstone, you can attack the opponent directly anytime, unless there's a taunt creature on the field. And if there's a taunt creature on the field, you must clear it before you can hit anything else.
Okay.
And so a big part of the Taunt Druid archetype is dropping very large taunts that can soak up a lot of damage, deal damage to the opponent, and keep your face safe.
That's a very interesting mechanic they put into this.
Yeah, taunt is very good.
So do any of these creatures on the battlefield have taunt right now?
Any of those creatures you see with the sort of grayish metal shield around them, those have taunt.
Okay. And then I would imagine that the yellow-looking shield on that 1/1 that the paladin has
That's
is
Divine
Divine
Shield.
Shield.
Yep, that's the bubble you got pop.
Okay. And then what about the aura, the little glowing, the shiningness around some of the cards, those blue sparkles?
Yeah, that means that its attack or defense has been buffed in some way. So you can see some of those numbers are green on them. That means that it is higher than its base value.
So pretty much just yeah, okay, so you're buffing it. All right, cool.
The Paladin is certainly putting in a lot of effort to try and keep refilling this field and keep the numbers clean, but it's just hard to keep up when your opponent is dropping 4 12s on a consistent basis. Not quite as much use of the weapon as I would have expected to clear things either.
What was the weapon? Was it for the paladin, that hammer?
Yes, you can see the hammer right there. So in Hearthstone as well, weapons are sort of analogous. Oh, and Sky has conceded the first game. Taunt Druid was just capable of putting down too much pressure. So we're going to see, looks like, oh, okay. We're going to switch here to another deck. No, we'll wait to do that, I think, right? So moving into game 2.
And this would be a best of 3 series for each player, for each game played. I don't know if we mentioned that on stream quite yet.
So Sky has switched to his Druid. We'll see if he's running a similar sort of deck. Great Gennarby has switched to his Shaman. I'm not as familiar with the go-to Shaman deck these days, so I will certainly be very curious to see what he's brought today. Nothing for his first turn.
Now, so what's the shaman's totem-looking thing on the bottom? Is that a weapon
yeah,
as well?
his hero power is moderately similar to the paladins. They were even more similar in the earlier days of the game. But the shaman basically has the ability to put a random totem on the field. There are 4 options. There's the 1/1 that you see there. And then there are 3 0/2s that have different effects. So we are getting, for example, this one is a 0/2 taunt. Unfortunately, as a shaman, you have no control over that, and it adds a lot of RNG that can be very frustrating as the shaman, especially if, as you can see, he doesn't really have anything to be doing in the early game right now. No way for him to sort of progress the board state.
So would you say a shaman's more of a late game deck than scaling up to...
I don't know if it's late game so much as he's just not been entirely lucky with his draws.
Okay. Seems like he's gotten a lot more... Do you gain mana each turn then? So
That's right. There's no lands. You just gain 1 mana every turn.
Okay.
The Druid, Violet Teacher, has been in the game since beta, and it tells you exactly what the Druid is playing. So he's going to be playing basically a spell deck, a spell token deck, where Violet Teacher, every time you cast a spell, produces a 1/1. It has been silenced now, so that effect is gone. That's going to slow the Druid down a little bit. But ultimately, so the idea here for the Druid is going to be to fill the board with lots of creatures and then rely likely on Savage Roar to buff their attack and go all in for a 1-turn kill.
Okay. And then before the... what was the name of the witch or the creature he played first? That had,
the Violet Teacher.
The Violet Teacher. If she wasn't... well, killed now, she would be able to bring in more 1/1 creatures to eventually just make a big army, like the Paladin did before he lost them all.
That's right.
Okay. I like the artworks of these cards as well, and just the artwork in general is pretty cool.
One of the best things that Hearthstone really brought to the digital card game, genre was its level of polish. And there are not very many card games, even now, years after Hearthstone initially came out, that have been able to match up with it on that, I think.
Even the borders, like you can look at the border of a legendary mythic and it's a dragon wrapped around
Yeah.
it. And
Of course, that's just stolen straight from WoW, to be fair.
true. I mean, it can do that. I mean, it's the same company. But
Drew's going to go ahead and Wild Growth. Try to get himself up to a little bit extra mana for next turn. Continue to fill the board, but likely going to lose basically everything he's got here.
why would you say that? Okay.
Just 2 of them, I guess.
2 of them.
But, I mean, close enough. And now the Shaman's got 3 of his 4 totems down, which means everything is fairly predictable for him. He's going to know. He knows if he hits his hero power again, he's going to get the 1/1. He knows if he loses one of the totems that are on the field, then basically there's a 50-50 of getting that specific one back, which is a nice place to be for a Shaman. It gives you a lot more control over your board state.
Okay. So you cannot have more than 1 of the same totem on the field at the same time.
That's correct. Soul of the Forest with Violet Teacher is one of the funniest interactions. I'm a huge fan of it. Where now Soul of the Forest makes it so that any creature that dies on you, that it affects, drops a 2/2. Violet Teacher pops out the 1/1 before the effect goes into play. So if the 1/1 dies, it actually upgrades to a 2/2.
Interesting. Oh, that's a really cool interaction.
And Hearthstone's got a lot of very awkward consistency issues, to be honest, with a lot of cards like that. So a lot of being a good player is memorizing the order that things like that occur in. Okay,
Did he upgrade his...
that's right. He played a legendary that replaced his hero with a new one with a new hero power. And so that's going to, pushed him back up to 30 health with 5 armor. And we'll see, this looks like it's probably now where he really shifts into his game plan. And it looks like the Druid has managed to do the exact same thing.
Huh. That's really interesting. When I first dabbled, I dabbled in this game pretty much when this game came out. I never heard of anything like this. There was a very few decks. I mean...
Yeah, from the beginning we had Jiraxis, who's always been sort of a funny legendary. He was the Warlock legendary in the base set, and he did the same concept. And then now, I can't remember the name of the set, but Blizzard introduced a hero or a legend like that for each class.
It gives it a lot of variety, and I'm assuming each legendary has its own special power that it can do. It looks like they gained new power abilities on the side of them as well. So instead of a totem, he has a hand. Does that look like gives him more energy, or?
It's going to, so you can see the lightning bolt on the underside. That means that it is something that will occur every turn. I don't exactly remember what the effect is here. I'm unfortunately not as well versed as I ought to be on some of these cards. Nice. Is silence and kill it so that its effect doesn't happen. With the field clear, it can be a little bit difficult sometimes to know exactly what tack you should be taking. That is a pretty strong card. Drawing 5 cards is a very big deal.
Is there a maximum hand size in this game?
Yes, if you have 10 cards in hand, any card you would draw past that is just burned straight to the graveyard.
Oh my.
Can go ahead and hex that. Deal with that 5/5 immediately. As you can see, that was burned. And it looks like the Druid actually is starting to run a little bit low on cards in his deck. It's possible that at a certain point here, he's going to start facing fatigue.
Now what's fatigue?
So instead of losing immediately after you draw all of the cards in your deck, you start taking damage based on the number of cards that you should have drawn. I would say, though, that this is looking pretty good for the Druid. We'll see if the Shaman can draw perhaps a second Lightning Storm to clear the field again. It's possible he's got some other things in his deck that might be able to deal with a field of this size. I think he's counting right now to see if his opponent has lethal. Oh no, he was counting to see if the volcano would clear the field, and it did.
Holy moly. What a field wipe. Now, how many cards are in a deck? So I know Magic, you can have 60 cards in a deck, which is preferred. Yu-Gi-Oh, I think it's 40?
In Hearthstone, it's 30.
30?
And it's exactly 30. It's not like in a lot of the games where it's a minimum number. So in Magic, you could have any number over 59.
Okay.
But with Hearthstone, it must be an exactly 30 card deck.
Okay. This game has been pretty even the whole game, the whole time.
Yeah, although I would say the Druid's ability to refill his hand may well be the deciding factor. He sort of has consistently been able to sort of restock his resources, and his hero power is probably going to allow him to sort of outpace his opponent's ability to deal damage, I would guess. Going to go ahead and use that to make a 3-2.
The only way I'd imagine him that Great Gennarby could come back would be something he pulls out of his deck that we don't know about yet. So what was that? It looked like a lot of his cards just got wiped from his...
I did not notice what it was, but you are correct. That is what it looked like.
I do like the animations as well.
Yes. Again, the polish of this game is good. Those creatures are difficult for the heroes or for the druid's hero power to deal with now. +3 attack doesn't quite cover what he needs it to.
Oh, that's
Lots
really
of wisps. Fill that field. Gain a little bit of armor.
Now, when he runs out of cards, you said he goes through fatigue.
Yes.
Does the
So
damage deal
the
it
first
to the
card
armor?
that he would deal but cannot will deal him 1 damage. The second 2, the third 3, and so on.
Okay, and would that go through his armor, or would it?
No,
hit the
it
armor
hits the
first?
armor.
Okay.
Yeah, and certainly there have been metas where that's been a big deal. I've seen some very, very, very long games between warriors who had a lot of armor stacked up, and both were in fatigue trying to get a final piece of card advantage to finish out the game. Steal, one of the 1/1s, undoubtedly hoping to get that 1/5 instead. Clearing out the largest threats, for sure. Looks like he may be setting up for some very large effects for near the end of the game. Druid undoubtedly trying to figure out how he can finish this out, looking to sort of just get down the kind of damage that's necessary to really pressure Great Gennarby. Savage Roar could be what he's trying to do. In fact, with double Savage Roar, oh, I'm not counting, that could be the game. 5, 24 plus 3, 27. That's exactly lethal.
What a good combo.
So far today, we have seen Druid go 2-0.
Seems like it's the most powerful deck so far.
With a lot of opportunities for a wide-ranging number of decks.
Yeah, and this
I
game
mean,
was a
the
lot.
2 Druid decks we've seen were nothing alike.
You're right. Yeah, the other deck was nothing like this, but I have to say this game was a lot closer in comparison to the last one.
It did seem like the previous game, the winner was decided relatively early on when that flow of battle really shifted in the favor of the Druid deck. So now we're heading into Game 3. This game will decide the match between Sky and Great Gennarby. Both have decided to change to their third deck. Great Gennarby playing Hunter, Sky playing Rogue. We're going to see exactly how they've built their decks out.
So do you know anything about the metas between these two, the Huntress and the Rogue?
Unfortunately, I do not.
Okay.
That's just not something I've been paying attention to recently. Alright, back to the Moon Eater. Going to change the hero power to an upgraded version right out the gates. Hunter working on his card advantage, sort of sorting through the top of his deck, looking for, I would guess, a combo piece of some kind.
Oh, so the Huntress's hero power is getting a 2/2 weapon for that turn, or
That's the rogue.
Oh, that's the rogue.
Yes.
And the Huntress is
The Hunter is at the bottom, and his hero power is to just deal 2 damage to the opponent's face.
Okay.
Ah, interesting. Okay, so the rogue is playing either weapons or pirates or both. Hunter drops another a creature with presumably some amount of value.
Now, how long? I did not catch the rogue's power, but how long does that weapon stay there? Would you hit it? And
Yes.
breaks that
So to
armor?
cover on how weapons work, you can see that it's got power and health, just like a creature does. So every time you use the weapon, it removes 1 from that toughness.
I see. And then to reuse it, you have to spend the mana from that power.
You have to. Yep. You have to re-equip a new weapon.
Okay. I'm liking the dinosaur themed right now.
Yes.
Egg hatchling and then
Yes.
breaking out of its shell.
Dinosaurs are a funny, funny tribe. Alright. Rogue definitely looking to play the aggressor. I would guess at this point that it might even mostly be an aggro style deck. Interesting, willing to sort of throw in, add that 5/5 to the field instead of leaving it as a 0/2.
Why would you want to leave it as a 0/2 since it's a little weaker?
Well, so if he had not killed the 0/2, it would not have been able to attack. You have to have some amount of power. I guess it's probable, though, that the Hunter is filled with a fair amount of death rattle tricks and would have found ways to take advantage of the 0/2 being on the field. So for that reason, it's more optimal to just have the 5/5 down so that he could clear that.
Okay.
Looks like he's about to change his hero and hero power. We'll see what these are fully capable of doing. Big effects, big effects. As you can see, though, his health is not increased to the max amount. He's actually only got 15 health and 5 armor. Al gonna come in, silence that big ol' ugly thing, and remove whatever its death rattle was. Which, of course, is exactly why you play Silence. One of its most valuable effects is its ability to deal with all these death rattle triggers that the Hunter is attempting to pull out. Hunter gonna go ahead, use Tracking, sort through the top 3 cards, pick up what he hopes will sort of help put him back in the driver's seat. Gonna go ahead and drop that Devilsaur Egg and then trigger its death rattle to automatically get a 5/5 on the field.
Now, what's the ability Death Rattle mean? Say
Death rattle means when the creature dies, an effect of some sort will happen, and Death Rattle Hunter, runs a number of cards that allow the Hunter to trigger the death rattles without killing the creature.
Oh, okay. That's a really neat.
Allows you to double up in a lot of ways, so this creature is going to die and he will get another 5/5.
So it really adds a combination of I'm going to get a lot of creatures in
Well,
at
that's a good draw.
good span of time. So what does that card that you just drew got?
Mind Control Tech says, oh, interesting. So his new hero power allows him to discover. That's quite good. So the Mind Control Tech says if your opponent has 4 or more creatures on the field, when he enters the battlefield, you get 1 at random. Which is, like any amount of stealing creatures is just good. It's A, removal, B, builds a field, and C, doesn't trigger death rattles. So if you overextend into the Mind Control Tech, it just feels great. Although with the current meta, I would say that sort of overextending is a hard concept to really define. So much of the meta lately has been filling the field every turn and maintaining enough resources to be able to consistently do that.
Okay. Now, my biggest question is why, when they are getting more creatures out, why are they attacking other creatures? Why not just go for the hero itself?
Well, because
even when there's not a taunt on the field.
if you allow their creatures to be on the field, then they're going to kill your creatures optimally for themselves. So as you can see, by attacking the creatures directly, he was able basically to keep his creatures alive. And if he had allowed his opponent to be the one who made the trades, he would have gotten the better trades out of it.
Okay.
A little bit of removal, replacing itself with a new creature. As always, aggro decks do not love getting up to 9 mana. Preferably, the rogue would, I think, preferably have finished out this game by now. And as you can see, he's going to start moving in towards the kill. He wants to try and finish it out as soon as he can, and is just going to rely on the hunter being unable to stop him. Hunter's going to need probably clear and life gain. Getting the 2-1 is not quite good enough. I think really he was hoping probably for the 4-1 boar with haste, so that he could use that to clear out more creatures. 4-7 taunt is effectively 7 power of life gain, but that isn't going to be quite enough to save him. And that's going to end our first match between Great Gnarby and Sky, going 2-1 to Sky.
gonna
All
be
right,
Quattro
and we're
versus
back. We're about to watch
Sky,
this.
And
The
then it's gonna be Great Gennarby versus Lista.
about to watch the semifinals between Sky and Quattro. There's also a losers round, Greg and Arby versus Lista. And what do you think is going to happen here with this game? Do you think we're going to see another Druid? Any Hunters?
Certainly, I think we'll see Sky's Druid again. I would guess Sky is looking to play all three of the decks that we've seen so far. The big surprise to us is going to be Quattro's what he brings, since we didn't have the ability to take a look at that in the first matchup.
It looks like we're looking out of Quattro's point of view. We won't really say anything about it quite yet until we get into the match. Then we can talk about it a little bit more.
But it's distinctly different from any of what we've seen previous to this. So I'm excited to get a look at how these decks work. I've been really pleased with the large amount of variety of deck lists that we've seen so far. So we're going to have the Rogue going up against the Warlock. Working their way through their mulligans, figuring out exactly what they want to be playing.
So I noticed that they're doing a mulligan, but there's only 4 cards they're mulliganing. I know you.
Opening hand is smaller in this game than in MTG.
Okay, so it's smaller.
Valk of the Moon Eater, auto upgrading that hero power again.
Now.
Interesting. So it would appear from our perspective that both decks here are going to be fairly aggressive. This may end up being a shorter game.
So what makes you say that? Is it the cards that they laid down in the first place, or what you can see in?
So we had seen in the previous game that the Rogue was a moderately aggressive deck,
Yes.
and obviously the Warlock has to be sort of careful with how much they use their hero power as a result of that. Hero power draws them a card, but it hits them in the face for 2 in exchange.
Okay.
And so dropping health too low is going to be pretty devastating. But the other interesting thing is that Warlock is playing life gain support. They're playing life gain tribal. That card that he's got on the field right now gets more powerful every time the Warlock gains life, which is not something that you would expect the Warlock to be particularly into.
So do you think we could see this be a dragged out game that the Warlock would want to see, since it is life gain? Get it life, more gain, more life with these creatures or whatever he plays. Use his power to draw more cards, take some damage, but then when he's gaining more mana, he can play an even more powerful creature.
Yeah, it's hard to know exactly how much life gain the Warlock is playing, but if he's got enough to sort of outlast the Rogue, it's going to be much, much better for him to go into the late game than the Rogue, because the Warlock's hero power allows him to just sort of maintain that sort of resource pool in a way that the Rogue might not be able to keep up with.
Okay.
Rogue undoubtedly going to just go ahead and clear off that Light Warden now.
I feel like it'd be the best benefit for the Rogue to just clear as much as possible and try to kill him as quickly as possible before it gets too out of hand with his life and
Yeah, it's got to be
resources.
tough to know for the Rogue, since the Rogue really wants to start dealing damage as soon as it can, but this particular style of zoo deck seems very well equipped to sort of clog up the field and keep the game from ending earlier than the Warlock wants. Rogue perhaps looking between, okay, going to try and get a little bit of card advantage and add another creature to the field. Refresh the hero power.
He's doing a really good job. The Rogue is doing a really good job of clearing the Warlock's field pretty well.
It's just not what the Rogue wants to be doing.
No? Pretty well. I would imagine, now that you say it, I'm thinking that he wants to constantly be hitting the Warlock before he gains too much.
And this card in particular is going to be a major issue if it's clearing the field at the end of every turn.
Oh, he clears it at the end of every turn?
I believe that it deals 1 damage to the opponent's field at the end of each turn, yes. And so, I mean, depending on the setup, yep, all minions, all minions. So it will actually, it looks like, deal damage to itself as well.
Okay. Man, some of these cards seem a little overpowered, but I mean, with that one, it would hit your own. And does it hit him as well then?
I believe it will hit the creature that is dealing the damage, yeah. And so, as you can see, as a result of that, the rogue is not dropping anything with 1 toughness. The 4/4 is a fairly large creature. I would guess that he's mainly looking here to drop 2 threats that he'll be able to deal with the 4/5 next turn, so that no matter what, that's going to be gone, and he'll be able to start hopefully rebuilding his field to put pressure on the Warlock. Warlock using a Solarium gets some cards. Those are some powerful looking cards. Gonna drop a... Alright, so his deck, all of the minions in his deck clearly must be fairly low cost at the moment. That allowed him to buff them all up for any future draws that he gets. Oh, it doesn't hit his own. Fair enough. But that will.
Oh.
There's that clear that the rogue was looking to get, and now he's the one who's got the pressure. Oh, ho, 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 ho.
Now, what just happened right there? He dealt a lot of damage with one of his creatures. Was that the ability of it?
Yes, when it enters the battlefield, it deals 1 damage to all other creatures.
Okay.
Warlock attempting to rebuild his own field, but it's never much fun to only drop creatures smaller than your opponent's largest. Looking at cards in deck, probably not going to be something that really makes a huge difference at the end. I would be surprised if this went to fatigue. Rogue is...
There's a on Springboard, there's a I actually just set these people up a line. So the town, there's a reservation for some labeled Splinter Cell.
Okay. If it's reserved for them, then don't put them on that.
Rogue is
that's weird.
quite getting the field
So
cleared off
both
right now.
individual buy stations are rented out to Splinter Cell, but they're not on the party. So.
I guess they rented out to individuals.
Well, it seems like we might get another field wipe here pretty soon if we're not, if everything goes well for the Warlock.
So there's 2 reservations underneath.
Just don't let it conflict with the current reservations. If it would conflict,
It
move to a
under
different
2
zone.
individuals.
They did. The reservations were on the website.
Okay, I'll figure it out. I'll just set them up on the party stall.
Yeah, that's fine. Buffed up taunts, very annoying. Gonna have to use a little bit of his face to finish clearing off that field, but that leaves him with a pair of very solidly mid-range creatures.
And it looks like one of his creatures buffed him a little bit as well.
Yes.
It's not looking...
So he drew a creature that hits himself in the face, tapped, took some damage, drew another one that hits him in the face. Gonna have to use Leroy to clear. Oh, that feels bad. And hits himself in the face for 6. Dropping himself very close to lethal. On the field already, the rogue has 9 damage. That puts him only 5 away from lethal. If he's got any way to do significant buffs to the creatures down right now, that's going to be the game. Considering his options. Oh, and there it is. That's game.
Oh my lord.
Alright, well, Sky picking up his 2nd win with that rogue today.
Looks like he's doing really well at that. He's taking it really quick. This game was a little bit quicker than the Hunt versus the Hunter game.
Which I think we really expected. That's, you know, Zoo is generally a faster deck, and certainly the Rogue is an aggressive version of that particular class. Switching to the druid that we saw earlier on, that's the spell druid. Quattro playing hunter, potentially playing a similar style of deck to the one that we saw the great Gnarby playing earlier today. Right. So this hunter is definitely more of a mid to late game style deck, I would guess. Probably going to try and slow things down a little bit, but I don't think I'll be able to try very hard with the spell druid, who's probably not going to be particularly aggressive so much as attempting to set up a combo.
So what we're going to see here is probably more late game from both sides of the game.
I think what we'll really see is mostly the hunter attempting to build a sort of unstoppable board state, while the druid, while clearing the druid's combo pieces as he drops them. The druid's going to attempt to get down enough to sort of end the game all in one go, while the hunter is more interested probably in just sort of incrementally gaining advantage and eventually overwhelming the druid with a board that's just larger than he can deal with.
Okay.
That helps though. Dang nab, that helps.
So if this card stays on the field, he's going to get quite a few creatures next turn, if all goes well.
Very likely, yes. But, I mean, that's part of what makes it unlikely that it will stick around if the hunter can get any kind of removal for it. But we'll see if that's going to be possible.
Doesn't seem like he can really get anything on the field with only 3 mana. But you never know.
Looking through his discover options, debating between when he's going to really need whatever it is that he picks here.
So that was the
Gonna
card that
use
you were
that
talking
right
about.
now.
So that was the card that would trigger a death rattle.
Yep, gonna get a 5/5. So next turn he'll be able to deal with this Violet Teacher. But by then we'll
might be
see
too
what the
late.
druid has in hand for just building out and buffing a big field. Coin has
So more mana,
Nice,
play
saved
more
that.
cards. So more spells will be played, and he'll get more creatures. So right now he's probably gonna have 4.
There you go. Yeah, that is a really difficult field to deal with for sure.
So do those minions that came out on the battlefield, do they have any special abilities as well that help?
They do now. They all have the ability to, when they die, they'll return a 2/2 to the field.
So he's just trying to set up his. This is the combo. This is kind of a combo you were talking about.
Yeah, and so, I mean, if he has double Savage Roar next turn, it's entirely feasible that he could just pull Lethal out.
Yeah, and that was the one card that gave him 3/3.
It buffs their attacks by 2. So I haven't done any of the math here. Let's see, 6, 7, 7 plus 8 is 15.
It'd be a lot of damage. It'd probably be around half of lethal.
Yeah, certainly if I'm not doing the math properly, it's hard to know for sure, but he could get an awful lot of damage, and that's going to help too. I mean, you just keep building up that field, you make it impenetrable. Clears off those taunts, keeps his field going. Probably not entirely happy to have to reduce himself to 2 creatures, but at this point, I would say that the flow is still in his favor.
Now, would you say with a druid, unlike a rogue, would he want to chip out the opponent's field rather than take out his life force first?
He sort of has to an extent. He has to try and make as good of trades as he can so that he can maintain a consistent board presence.
Okay. I guess what I'm asking is it more beneficial? It's not as much of a hassle to hit the enemy's minions with your own and reducing yours because you can gain more that are higher power.
Yeah, I would say he's probably got cleared his field. That's not gonna feel good for him. Actually, that could be enough to sort of stop the druid in his tracks. Druid's trying to see if he's got... Okay, he's going to nourish 4 cards, draw 3, refills hand, and try to basically start over. Hunter's feeling very good now, I'd imagine. He's got basically a free turn thanks to that nourish costing 5 mana to really develop his field as much as he likes. It's going to be very difficult for the druid to deal with these creatures. I mean, if he's got any way out, it might just be working his way towards a quick ending to the game. Switch into a more aggressive mode and sort of start hammering down, but the hunter's still at 26. Using his second swipe, and then filling the field with... that seems like the wrong order. He could have gotten another 1/1 if he played those in reverse. Mind control tech, gonna steal one of those. I think at this point, it would be very surprising if the druid were able to make a comeback.
It seems like the field has grown way too overpowered. I mean, yeah, overwhelming for the druid to handle.
Yeah.
Without one field wipe, just kind of messed up his whole aura, his mojo, really.
Yeah, and this isn't, there's no Brokeback Druid anymore. You can't really pull the 14 damage out of nowhere anymore. A little bit of clear, hoping to sort of use that overwhelming card advantage, I'd imagine, to still pull something out. But definitely the hunter is in a pretty solid position. And that hero power does just put every other opponent on a clock. Eventually, 2 damage a turn will get you there. Druid just looking for any way to get something going. A little bit of life gain, maybe? Put him back up to 27 health, effectively. And certainly he got a lot of value out of that turn. Being able to, I mean, when you can refill your hand and use the best of basically your entire deck, you can make a lot of headway. But still, just looking at, creatures that have the advantage over yours from a pure stats perspective. He's going to get some good trades here, likely. Unless he decides to shift into the aggressive mode. Alright.
He's just constantly chipping away at the druid's battlefield. It doesn't seem like he's going to have much.
And building that overwhelming field that we talked about earlier.
Yep. Granted, the druid does have a lot more cards in his hand, a lot more resources in his hand to look at, while the hunter only has 1 card. So you never know what he's going to pull.
And, I mean, Spreading Plague is annoying as all get out. He's going to get a 1/5 taunt.
4 of them.
There you go. Yeah, and now they're all set up to bring back tutus if they die. I think probably he's attempting right now to set up that Savage Roar finale. So the hunter is really sort of pressured to clear as much of this field as he can, including any tutus that might pop up. The problem being that 1/5s having taunts makes it kind of difficult to actually clear out the tutus. I think the druid's going to go into this next turn with as many creatures as he had at the end. No, I'm going to use Flanking Strike, it looks like, just to clear one of those off. Doing the math in his head, probably, figuring out exactly how close he is to dying to a double Savage Roar. Let's see here.
This isn't a fact. This isn't
Double Savage Roar would still be lethal now, though, I think.
24 damage, 24 health. Double Savage Roar, that's 4 attack with each
5.
one. 5?
Or so yeah, four per each, including the hero.
Yeah. Oh, so the hero also gains that. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Well,
I
there's
think
that.
that's lethal. Savage Roar is a good card.
Holy cow. The comeback is real.
Well, and that's what it means to be a combo deck. Sometimes you just manage to pull it out. I think that's 2-0.
That is 2-0,
Sky
yeah.
has taken the match.
Good job, Sky, with the comeback. I didn't
was
think
looking
I
hairy,
did
yeah.
not think he was going
It
to actually
was
win
looking
this one.
hairy. Yeah, getting down those 1/5s and then being able to immediately
Who
them
won
back
the losers? Joel. Who won the losers? Greg and Arby?
We're hearing that Great Ganarbi has won the first match of the losers round, which means Lista has been eliminated from the tournament. And the next match that we will be showing is going to be Great Ganarbi versus Quattro, both of them looking to get their rematch against Sky for the championships. All right, we're going to go ahead and take a short break before we get to that, though. we are back for the second to last match of the day. Before we get started, we just want to give a quick shout out to all of our sponsors. We're very thankful to have Respawn sponsoring our chairs, Intel sponsoring our hardware, St. Ambrose sponsoring our entire arena, and of course Video Games Etc. sponsoring our prizes today. With that said, we're going to get right into it. Great Gennarby versus Quattro. It's going to be the final match of the losers bracket, and the winner of this will go on to have a rematch with Sky for the championship today.
Yep. And if the loser wins that, they would go again. They would play them again because that'd be losers finals into the grand finals. They would have to play a double. So hopefully we'll see a Cinderella story.
It'll be very interesting to get a look at how this all works.
Sky was looking pretty strong though with the double. What is it called? The double dash or? No.
Savage Roar.
Savage
yeah,
Roar.
2 Savage Roars.
I think I might be thinking of Mario Kart. So it looks like we have the Paladin versus the Druids.
Yep.
Okay.
Paladin's going to be. Looks like he's going to function off another sort of version of the White Weenie style deck. Druid we've seen from Great Gennarby before. He plays a sort of taunt style Druid deck. Undoubtedly going to try and do a repeat of his first game of the day, which we saw, which was almost this exact concept.
Okay.
I'm sure the Druid will want to get down enough taunts to be able to consistently clear Quattro's field.
Okay, and I didn't notice that the Paladin's power is to create 2 tokens.
I believe that's a upgrade from the Great Baku, the same way we saw with the Rogue earlier, where it was upgrading his hero power to create a 2/2 weapon.
Okay, so was it normally just one of them at first, and then you upgraded it?
Yes.
Okay. And it seems like he's going to be buffing these. He could be possibly buffing it. He could be just playing more of an army in general, just to wipe out the field, wipe out the Druid just right away. Try to go at him.
He's going to have to clear out some pretty high health minions. A bunch of 1/1s dealing with a 3/6 taunt obviously was difficult. He managed to basically use only 1 card to do it, but if the Druid can consistently drop things of that size, I think that the Paladin's going to struggle to maintain the kind of card advantage that he wants.
Alrighty.
Great Gennarby, considering his options, maybe potentially looking at a swipe in his hand, figuring out whether or not it's worth it to take advantage of that now, or wait for some greater form of overreach, given that, to be honest, Quattro's really only got 1 creature invested in this field, given the way that the 1/2 replaced itself in his hand, and the 1/1s were productions of the hero power. Instead, looks like he's going to go ahead and use Nourish to significantly ramp himself, so next turn he's going to have 8 mana. And just clear off one of the 1/1s with his hero power.
Oh my, yeah, he's gonna have 2 extra mana compared. He's gonna have 3 more mana than the Paladin. I mean, honestly, I think a field wipe would be perfect at this moment, just to wipe out all of his 1/1s.
Well, especially since he just dropped that 1/4, it's almost like Quattro's sort of trying to bait out the swipe now.
And if that's true, he probably won't use he didn't use his hero power, so he's saving. Well, I guess it's not saving it, but he's not using it so that if there was a swipe, he wouldn't lose all of his minions in one go.
Yeah.
But now he's got a bigger army. He's got 3 creatures that have more than 1 toughness.
Great Gennarby just going to go ahead and wipe that field with a 4/8 taunt. That is hard to deal with. Quattro definitely not happy to see that many creatures go down at once, but he's got to sort of figure out now how he's going to keep moving through the Druid's massive bodies.
The 4/8 is going to be really big. It's going to sting him a little bit right now because he doesn't have the firepower to deal enough damage right now.
That's true.
He has to build up his army. The 4/8 can just keep chunking him down while he's waiting.
The Paladins do have cards that are sort of equalizing effects. Equality will make it so that every creature on the field has 1 health. I know there are other cards that will sort of reduce everything to 3/3s, and so the question is just, is the Paladin going to be able to draw them, play them, etc., while also sort of continuing to raise the value of his field? you can see right there, one of the nice things about Discover as a mechanic is that it really allows you to come up with new strategies on the fly, sort of adapt to your opponent's current board state by picking a card that wouldn't normally go into your deck, but that is going to be incredibly useful in dealing with whatever strategy they're using.
We just played another 4/8. That was just a big field wipe again.
Yep,
It's gonna
and
hurt
at
the
this
Paladin.
point, yeah, I mean, that's a huge blow to his card advantage.
You just see him one after another. You think he'd come back with it, but no, he just another one, just stacked upon the other. And it's a good thing for the Druid too, because he did gain more mana at the beginning. He was up 3 mana on the Paladin, and it was well used too. Got 2 of them out right away, turn after turn. Wiped him the first time, wiped him the second time.
Paladin's looking just to figure out what kind of clear he can pull off. He's gonna go ahead and take that down. And he's going to have to spend 2 turns dealing with that 4/8. Each of which is going to be using the weapon, presumably to do so, which is going to be 8 damage from killing it alone. Plus, I mean, that gives the taunt right now the ability to go face. That's going to be 12 damage from that one creature alone.
And the Druid has 7 cards in his hand. He might have another. He could possibly have another one. He could
Druids
have
just never run out of resources right now. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah, that seems like a powerful card.
Yeah,
I mean, 8/8. I don't know what its power was. I didn't get the chance to look at it.
It's gonna give him a special card into his hand every turn.
So what's a special card?
So there's a pool of cards called Death Knight cards that it'll pick a random one from that pool and put it into his hand.
And I'm sure that they do special abilities acquired from the Death Knight cards themselves.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Well, he does have a taunt card that has a shield on it, so that could save him a turn. He doesn't have any more mana though, and he's got a bunch of 1/1s. So
He's still got that 4 damage weapon in hand, probably hoping to clear off the Lich King as efficiently as he can. Drew is just gonna gain life, pop himself up to 36 effective health. The question is, now what? How is he gonna build his field from here? He's gonna start by swiping. And then he's going to just murder that card. Start going for damage.
And he didn't even have to use his Death Knight to murder the card.
No, it allowed him to hit 8 right in the face. Paladin's in a rough spot at this point.
It's not looking good. I mean, he's doing his best to try to build up his army every turn, but it seems like the Druid always has an answer.
Yeah, undoubtedly, Druids have a wide range of cards that really have been has made it a very powerful and diverse class.
For sure. I have not seen as much field wipe from any other deck that we've watched today as much as the Druid.
We saw a little bit from the Warlock, but I mean it's often a sort of a two-way street with the Warlock clears. The Druid just gonna go ahead and take it lethal right there.
Dang.
And with that, I think we're going to move on to Game 2 of this match. Quattro are going to have to consider if Great Gennarby's going to go with that Druid deck again. How is he going to really sort of try to deal with the raw amount of stats that Druids are able to consistently drop, as well as keep his own field against Swipe and Wrath.
But it doesn't look like he's going. It's going to be a Hunter v Hunter deck.
And this is effectively a mirror match. As I recall, these guys are playing basically the same deck. Undoubtedly, there will be a couple of individual card differences between them to sort of suit their individual playstyle, but I think the general concept of sort of building an overwhelming field presence using Death Rattle to leverage advantage is going to be basically the same.
And now the portraits don't change what abilities they have, correct? It's just
That's
a
correct.
different skin for the portrait. Okay.
That's right. And of course, there's always the Hunter Hero power. We can just see them put each other on a clock.
Yeah, and just the amount of chip damage they can do to each other each
Yep.
turn. the one thing that the other hunter that Great Gennarby has is he's got that weapon. And he's going to be able to do a little bit more damage each turn, it seems.
I think he looks like he's mostly holding on to that for removal purposes right now.
Okay. Now, it seems like it only does 1 damage. Does it do more than that, or is it just chip away at the...
I'm sure it's got another advantage to it.
Okay. All right.
Both looking to sort of find ways to leverage their death rattle effects most efficiently. Gelatinous Cube gaining the ability to become a 5/5 upon its death, I believe. It's tough. I mean, situations like this require really intelligent trading, where when both people have this level of there it is. So it makes you immune to damage when you use the weapon.
But he still managed to keep 2 creatures onto the battlefield. It might be a benefit for the Quattro.
Yeah, again, I think the next several turns are going to be a lot of these 2 guys really trying to trade with each other as efficiently as they can to sort of gain that advantage, and whoever does pull out the most advantage at the end of this sort of exchange will likely win the game by simple fact of having taken the most advantage during this crucial part of the game. Interesting. So that'll make the trades more awkward for Great Gennarby. He's going to have to get through that taunt before he can deal with those 5 power creatures that will otherwise likely finish clearing out Great Gennarby's field. Unless he drops his own. Yeah, mirror matches are extremely funny to watch.
It seems like they're playing the same game.
And a lot of times, what can end up being the difference maker in a mirror match is simply who got to play first. That extra mana can really be the difference maker as a result.
Yeah.
So he's going to, use those to clear that off.
Now he's got that bow, just as the mirror match would predict.
And at this point, it is definitely looking like Quattro came out the best of those exchanges. Great Gennarby not super happy, as sort of emoted there.
Yeah, he's giving him the well played, but I don't know if he means it.
A little bit of life gain coming out of that.
So what's that little purple heart mean on the bottom of the creature card?
Whatever damage it deals, it gains its hero that much life.
Okay.
So again, here's where some of the big differences can come in these mirror matches is this Discover ability. So he's getting offered 3 cards here that may or may not have been in his deck previously, and so he's going to be able to choose one of them to try and adapt his current play style to, frankly, at this point, secure his advantage. I would say even with the trading that Great Gennarby managed on his turn, Quattro's in the lead and likely attempting to sort of lock down that advantage, remove as much volatility as he can from the rest of the game. It's a big card. We'll see what Quattro's going to need to do to sort of deal with it. Being able to deal 1 damage without taking any damage to the face is always nice, of course. That weapon, Candlelight, is fairly effective. He's just going to go ahead and drop a 4/6. We'll see how Great Gennarby responds. I don't think he is very likely to make the trade here. Oh, Great Gennarby is really starting to take back the advantage, actually. Oh, and dropping King Crush on the field, that puts huge amount of power down immediately.
What was that? So what's his ability? It said charge.
He's just an 8/8 haste, effectively. And things are suddenly looking very bad for Quattro.
Yeah, that almost looks lethal damage, pretty much. What was?
He has lethal on the field. The question will be, can Quattro mitigate it in any way? Dropping his own King Crush will help.
Maybe just. Do you think he would trade King Crush for King Crush?
If he had to, and he might, doing the math, 14 plus 3 is 17, so he doesn't quite have to do it to pull it out. But if the hunter can add even 2 damage, but it looks like he won't be able to. He's going to have to use that to clear off the King Crush there. Certainly, though, I mean, this puts him on a very short clock. That hero power is going to get him there in a matter of 2 to 3 turns.
Yeah, this looks like he's on the end of his ropes. If he doesn't do something this turn, it's just going to be a GG.
And adding that taunt to the field is not at all what Quattro wanted to see happen. You'll note he also... Oh, and that's going to be it. That is the end of game 2.
Yeah.
Is that 2 wins to Greg and Arby?
Yeah.
So that's the end of the match, I believe.
So, does this man have to beat you twice to win this thing?
Yep.
6 matches.
Huh?
6 matches. You gotta win.
We're going to set that on our challenge.
Literally, none of us have any secrets, but there's
Folks at home, you can always, of course, follow along our tournament brackets by heading to paradigmschallenge.com page. The current, we're going to go ahead and put the current bracket into the Twitch chat, so you'll be able to, if you're interested, see the matches today, their turnouts, etc., etc., etc.
Does that have to be a lot, man? Oh, hey, Matt. So, how long have you been here for? Okay, so,
So we're going to move into the finals, Sky versus Great Gennarby. Because Sky is the current champion, if he loses, he would technically go to the loser's bracket of 1, which means that Great Gennarby has to win 2 matches in a row if he wants to take the full championship.
yeah, gotcha. Thanks, man.
And I think we're going to take a quick short break before we get into these matches, and we'll be back in about 5 minutes, 5-10 minutes.
That's right.
Alrighty. We are experiencing a few technical difficulties. We will be here going on with this tournament shortly.
All right, we are going to get started with potentially the final match of the day, Sky versus Greg Gennarby, the rematch of the first game that we saw this afternoon. The winner we are doing best of 5 for the finals, so this is going to go on a little bit longer, and they will inevitably have to play the same deck more than once, so they'll have to sort of prove it against more than one deck.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I have been seeing Sky tear with this deck. It was just savage.
Token Druid has been extremely strong today.
Ooh.
When it
It
starts,
seems like he's going Druid right away. So
Yeah.
I really want to see the combo. I want to see it. I want to see at least one game today that it goes it goes out of all over the place. So many tokens fly over, just everywhere.
I don't think you'll struggle to see that. The Shaman deck, as we saw earlier, was, I think, mostly focused on conceptually the Jabberwock and it's sort of the Shudderwock, rather. Its sort of crazy ability to repeat all previously played battle cries. So Shaman sort of plays a lot of cards with a lot of battle cries and then relies on finishing the game with that as a very large, power play.
Okay.
Druid's just gonna play its game, just sort of try to fill out the field with consistent tokens, and hopefully, combo out into the end. Shaman looking to play a little bit more aggressively though, filling out his field. Gonna go ahead and freeze and just sort of play a tempo game.
Seems like he wants to get this done before the druid can pull out his massive combos.
Which makes perfect sense. I mean, you don't want to, at this point, let the druid get up to turn 7 or 9 when it's going to be ending the game that way. This is, I mean, that's a big field. That's something that has to be answered immediately.
So I just saw like little frozen specks on his the druid's one of the druid's creatures. What does that mean?
That means the creature's frozen and won't be able to do anything for 1 turn.
Oh my goodness! He
So
just
the shaman,
wiped. the
yep,
druid's
pulled out a
field.
lightning storm, maintaining his high pace of tempo. Druid's still looking to sort of hopefully fill the field, is what he'd like to do, but at this point he's being pressured fairly effectively by Great Gennarby. He may very well need to start spending some time dealing with the shaman field before he can safely build his own.
For sure, and he's only got 20 health, right? Well, 19 with the shield, 19 health, and he's half pretty much of the shaman. Any more damage, and it's gonna get close to lethal. I mean, there's not much he can do at this great pace the shaman's been working with.
And the shaman got fairly lucky, I would say, with getting out the card early on that buffed all of the creatures in his deck by +1/+1, so everything that he's dropping is just more powerful than it was initially designed to be. And again, getting that consistent freeze, which will allow him to slow down the druid, prevent him from doing any sort of trading, and let the shaman build his tempo. Druid's going to try and slow things down a little bit, building armor, doing a little bit of clear, but definitely, he's more in the setup phase still than having any ability to move the game towards the conclusion he would like. 1 mana left, maybe considering a 1 mana card in hand, but perhaps more likely just sort of taking advantage of the time he has to consider his options. Great Gennarby going into the turn with a very sizable field. Going to be able to use Glacial Shard again to freeze his opponent, keep that tempo damage going. Just mangling that armor and really getting through to the heart of life. He's under half life now, and the shaman has a full field, 7 creatures.
And it's not like the druid could do a swipe because they all have more than 1 health.
That's right.
So he'd have to pull out like a lightning storm. Is that what you said?
Lightning Storm is a shaman card, so Sky likely doesn't have any sort of board wipe that can deal with this in one go. He's really got to figure out another solution. He's drawing cards, looking desperately, but I think if he doesn't find some sort of solution right now, this is the game. Coin, pop himself up to 4 mana. Swipe to clear 1 card. 2 cards, weaken the field. That leaves 10 damage down on the field. The shaman needs to add 4 more if he wants to pull out lethal. And depending on the cards he has in hand, he may be able to do that. He's going to go ahead and Farsight, see if he can get the damage he needs. 12 cards left in his deck, checking, searching, seeing whether more card draw would be valuable in getting him where he needs to be, likely considering what it is he's going to draw next turn. Going to go ahead and play it fairly safely, clear off the 2/4, and go for the tempo win. The Druid, however, has drawn a ton of cards in the last 2 turns, so it's very feasible that he's got the answers that he needs right now.
And with the amount of resources he has 9 mana and a lot of cards. He could, with this safe round that the shaman just played, he might be able to come back with a bunch of minions with the spreading plague.
Yeah, getting those 1/5 taunts is huge.
We might be able to see another turnaround from Sky.
Destroys one of the creatures. Oh man. You never say druids are out of it. We'll see what the shaman sort of does here. Looks like he's going to try and clear what he can. Mind control tech, always good right now. Considering some big plays right now. He's going to use Hemet to really get rid of any cards that are particularly cheap in his deck. Really thin it down only to the major plays.
So it seemed like he was trying to decide whether or not it would ruin his deck and slow down or fast the pace for him to die, possibly if the pace was slow and by the Druid.
Yeah.
Which is potential, but it's very unlikely that the Druid will win.
Druid is undoubtedly searching to finish out the combo. He's got now a field that's going to be difficult to clear. He's got to be able to keep his opponent's field clear and really set up for those Savage Roars next turn. But I mean, that assumes that he has Savage Roar in hand, let alone 2. There's a huge chunk of his deck that he hasn't drawn yet. Oh, it looks like Shaman's going to move his way through the taunt, and I think that's going to be game.
No.
And that will be the end of that.
GG, the end of the first game.
First time we've seen the token druid go down today.
And Great Ganarbi takes the first match. It's looking good for him.
Yeah, yeah.
30 seconds ago.
Yeah, that double Earth Shock was a huge game changer right there. Just managing to silence the taunts. That's how you get through. All right, we're ready to move into the second game of this match. Rogue versus Druid.
Have we seen his rogue before?
I don't think we have seen...
Unless he was playing with a
we
different
must
skinned
have.
rogue.
No, we have seen it at some point. I can't recall exactly how it played, though.
If memory serves right, if it was his rogue, it was a lot fast. It was fast pace.
Baku the Moon Eater, of course. I'm gonna upgrade that hero power. I think probably the rogue decks we've seen today mostly played relatively similarly. Druid we've seen a couple of times today. It's a very taunty deck coming from Great Ganarbi. Rogue, hero powering up. Considering hitting face, perhaps? Debating whether or not that weapon needs to be primarily removal, or if he can, and he's decided he can use it to sort of try to put a little bit of very, very early pressure. Druid gonna go ahead and Wild Growth, put himself up to 3 mana for next turn.
And that extra mana slot giving a difference.
Certainly it's going to quicken his pace. Rogue has decided to play a distinctly aggressive deck, undoubtedly hoping to sort of get through before the big taunts are going to start coming down, which will be difficult when the Druid's already using his mana to put 6 armor on the clock. And now, clear his opponent's only minion.
It just really looks like that the Druid wants to keep the field wiped until he gets his cards on the field.
Definitely, definitely.
It definitely also seems like a different play style. With Sky's Druid, he played constant minions to keep his battlefield safe, and then he would have taunt where he could get the battlefield set up for a big play with a combo. But with this guy, with Great Ganarbi's Druid, it seems like he wants to get one big creature or just a couple of them to get the big hit on him, the big finisher.
Using Nourish for the mana crystals. Clear off a little bit more of the field. Keeping things relatively clean on his opponent's side.
I find it very interesting how different these strategies are between these two players, even though they can play 2 Druids.
Yeah, no, certainly Druid I think has just tons of variety at this point. Sky definitely going in for the big hits now. Gonna try and start genuinely putting pressure down, hoping that his opponent doesn't get any 8 or 9 drop taunts down too soon.
And still chipping away at Rogue's battlefield. Didn't quite kill everyone, but he got two, one of them with a swipe and one with a hit from the druid himself.
And certainly, I mean, if you've got your opponent's field reduced to a single 1/1, you're feeling probably pretty good.
Looks like he buffed his weapon though, so he can hit him for a lot more.
Yeah,
looks like
he's
Sky is
gonna-
going to be able to hit him for a lot of damage this turn.
Keep going for that direct damage. Got him down to 16. But the druid is up to 9 mana now. And I mean, that could mean that this is where things really begin to change. I'm going to start by using that to pull out several cards.
And these are some pretty massive cards, 2 of them which they have taunt.
I mean, immediately, that's a hugely formidable field.
So I remember this card. The card on the dragon card usually has an ability where it would deal damage. Does it
If
not
it
play
were played
when-
from the hand, yes.
Okay. Now does that happen with every card if it were played from the library or the deck?
If a battle cry effect is not going to trigger if it's pulled out directly from the deck like that.
Okay.
Oh, that feels bad. Gonna have to use everything he's got just to clear out that 4/8.
And what can you do? I mean, he's only got 8 damage, but he's had to get that rogue had to get rid of so many cards.
Yeah, I mean, it allowed him to play a rather large Edwin Van Cleef, but the druid is likely not going to struggle particularly in dealing with that. He's already got 8 damage on the field, let alone anything he might have in hand. He's going to go ahead and use Wrath and a 5/5 to clear that out, and then just drop another big old taunt.
Oh man.
More cards in hand, more bodies on field. This is the position that a taunt druid wants to be in, for sure.
And he's got 10 mana, and it was such a quick way to get to 10 mana. It only seemed like it took 7 turns, not even.
Yeah, I mean, and those were turns that the rogue needed to be putting down even more pressure than he was able to. I mean, when the druid is spending his time ramping, those are the empty turns. Those are the turns when the rogue has the ability to deal the damage he's going to be able to deal, and he just couldn't get enough pressure down in that time period.
It just seems like
Rogue's gonna
everything's-
refill though, holy cow.
I still think it's falling apart. He's destroyed his deck. Now he's out of cards, so he's on a timer now.
Yeah, yes, he certainly is. Wow.
I don't even know what would have caused that.
He played a spell that drew them all.
Oh,
Likely looking to, try to just finish out the game as quickly as he can now. Deal with the fatigue as it will. Another 4/12. I mean,
with taunt too. I mean, it's gonna just keep hurting him. I don't see any way out of this. I think
bounce
it's-
spells could potentially give him the tempo necessary. A little bit of combo to destroy. That's very useful. It's going to take out some big threats.
All right. So now that taunt is only at 4 health. If this druid doesn't have any more taunts, then there we go. He's got another 4/12 taunt.
I mean, it's just the raw size of the field. The druid's gotten down both 4/8s, both 4/12s, at least 1 3/6 taunt. It's just so much to chew through for an aggro deck.
But there we go, destroy a minion.
Yeah.
This is becoming a really close game. A lot closer than I thought.
He's got the damage on the field for lethal. The question is going to be how the druid deals with that now. Drawing out your whole deck it's a powerful effect. There's no doubt about that. Drew's going to go for a little bit of card draw. Counting damage. The rogue, 8 damage on the field. Just needs 2 more. 4 cards in hand, but that's the rest he's got. If he has it now, then he's probably got the game. But if he doesn't, it's going to be difficult for him to do anything else. Oh, and it's Leroy Jenkins. That will be game 2.
GG. So now it is 1-1 between Great Gnarby and Sky.
That was one heck of a turnaround.
And Sky, he used his rogue deck. He didn't win with his druid deck.
That's true, which we have largely considered to be his most powerful deck today.
Won the game.
Now I wonder what's going to happen with the strategy between with how this is best of 5. Who's going to pick what deck?
That's true.
Try
When,
to counter
when you
each other.
repeat,
Does Sky go back with the Druid deck? Does he play with it even though we lost to throw off?
yeah.
Would Greg and Arby play with the same deck he just played with to throw off Sky?
And certainly, you're relying a little bit on luck. You're trying to anticipate what deck your opponent's going to use. I think Sky would be unlikely to want to use the Druid against the Shaman again, but it's hard to know for sure. So we're going to instead see Sky go with his third deck for the day, same with Greg and Arby, each interested in showing off the full range of their capabilities. We have seen both of these decks played today. We know very well how they work. I think we've seen the Paladin played more than a few times with that Baku ability, allowing him to play 2 1/1s every turn, really genuinely flooding the board.
Now, hero abilities, are there more than just one? So could he have could the Paladin have another ability?
The Paladin's normal hero ability would be to make 1/1 a turn. He has upgraded it using Baku, and other cards can also change hero powers, but you can never have more than one hero power at the same time.
Okay, but you can change. Okay, I was
That's
just
right.
wondering if you could change it. Thank you.
Yeah, there are certain cards that have effects like that. I think in this particular case, the ability to flood the board is going to be extremely good against the Hunter. In the previous games we've seen, the Paladin has often been faced up against the Druid, who's able to use his hero power to clear off 1/1s more efficiently. But the Hunter is stuck just sort of dealing 2 damage to face a turn. So it's a clock, but it's not a very adaptable clock. And that's sort of its largest downside. Paladin gonna go ahead and do that. Reduce volatility as much as possible. Go ahead and get effectively a 1-mana hero power there, and just sort of refill his board. I mean, he's back up now, 5 1/1s. On turn 3, I mean, you're really looking at he's effectively gotten down to 5/5 on turn 3. As long as it remains unanswered, yeah, that's sort of the way to think about it.
And all the Hunter can do is kill one of them. Does this power only affect the attack of the hero, or can it attack creatures as well? His hero power.
His hero power
Hunters.
can only hit the opponent's face.
Okay, so he doesn't really have anything that deals field wipe damage.
Yeah, he's going to attempt to leverage some advantage using these death rattles, but the Paladin seems largely unconcerned, I would say. He's got his strategy in place, and he's going to probably just sort of keep attempting to go face and take advantage of the fact that he has so many bodies on the field to do it with.
And like you said, all of the rogue could really hope for is to take advantage of the death rattles, or maybe find a possible field wipe if he has one. Otherwise, he's just really gonna have to get big creatures and hit them all at once. Try to get lethal damage as soon as possible, but with that, I don't think it's gonna happen.
So now. Sure.
Oh, looks like the rogue upgraded his hero. And now the whole field is wiped now. There was a huge field for the Paladin, but now it's just reduced to 2 for this turn. He's still got 4 mana. He's rebuilding up his field. And we'll see what the rogue is going to do now.
Yeah, I didn't really know what time you're getting into the so it's just really affect any plans of mine. It's still going. Okay. Yes.
The rogue has been doing pretty
Hunter.
well. Yeah, he's been Hunter. Sorry, the Hunter has been doing pretty well clearing the field as of recently. He cleared the huge field of 7, and then the Paladin was only able to get 3 back on, but he's just been chipping away, and it's been pretty decent damage.
That is a beautiful pull. That is exactly what you want to have. They're just coming out of your library. Yeah, now, I mean, certainly this has turned the game into huge pressure from the hunter. We're looking at a 1-2 turn clock. But that's going to slow things down a little bit.
Giving them +2/+2s, and then as well giving them taunt. It's gonna slow down the rogues, the hunter's ability to go for lethal.
And the paladin is indeed going to try to become the aggressor right here. So we will see exactly how he decides to clear this field. He will be able to get rid of all of the taunt minions. And then he can, of course, I believe, use his weapon to clear a 1/1.
Slowly chipping it away. It works. I'm finding it really fascinating that he's able to that the hunter is still able to clear the field with an army that large.
Yeah, you just gotta take advantage of all of the cards in your hand, and that's exactly what he's been able to do. Paladin seems like he may have some way to deal with the current threats. We'll see, though. Oh, there it is.
Oh my.
That creates another very large and rather impenetrable field, obviously. You gotta love that card advantage. Lifesteal and Rush. Oh. Getting another 312 taunt down, slowing things down very... Oh, maybe should have played the Prince there a little bit earlier. He could have gotten a larger... It would have been coming, I believe, as a 413 if he had played that in a different order.
Okay. What would make him a 413 then? What order?
So when the Prince comes down, he's buffing all of the cards that remain in the deck.
Okay.
Sky using his own Discover to try and adapt his play style, really hoping he can finish putting some pressure on, but things are not really looking his way at the moment. Still, he continues to be able to flood the field with minions, and the hunter is out of cards, so if Sky can sort of clear this rather intimidating field, he might be able to do something still. Still, the ability to just create new cards every turn, that's a very powerful hero power.
And is he creating two?
No, he chooses two creatures that he fuses together into one.
Oh. That's intimidating.
It's a lot of value. Gives his beasts charge, which sets him up for the ability to just sort of push lethal on almost any turn. This is going to be sort of the deciding turn. Sky may or may not be able to deal with the raw field presence that Greg Narvi's pulled out. Stormwind Champion, gonna definitely help buff what he's got. Raid Leader, interesting.
He's
really
going all in for his last turn.
But that 3/7 taunt, I mean, that's just too much. This guy's got no more mana, and that's the game. So that puts it in Greg Narvi's favor, 2-1.
Well played. Your survivor token is gone now.
My survivor token?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of something here. Your extra life is gone now. No, straight up.
Are we playing best of three?
Best of 5 for the initial match.
Oh, so we're just playing one big game?
No, so that was best of 5.
we have to win with all three decks then.
You can replay the same deck as many times as you want.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Alright. Exciting.
It seems it's going to be a mirror match. Not exactly, but they're both going to play druids.
Both playing druid, but very different druid decks. Yeah.
I'm interested to see which deck will take the cake. Will Sky be able to bring his combo to fruition, bring out all of the creatures and swing with all of them with a massive buff, or will?
I mean, it's very likely that Great Gnarby gets down a large taunt wall, and that Sky's going to just sort of have to come up with some way to get through it. I mean, I've seen many a game where Savage Roar had to be used for removal. And so we could end up seeing something along those lines, both getting out the wild growth, sort of negating their value, dead turns early on.
I can see this being a very important match right here that could decide it all.
Certainly, I mean, if Great Gnarby picks this one up, then he's going to take the sort of first round of the finals. Sky will get one more chance to go in a best of 5. But it would be a fairly decisive best of 5 if Great Gnarby's picking it up 3-1.
Oh yes, and I mean the only thing that I could see, the one thing I could see Sky doing would be probably playing a potential of a couple swipes to get rid of the taunt walls, because I mean we've seen him before. Or he can play.
There's only so much Swipe can do against 4/12s though.
Yeah, you got me there.
I don't remember if Sky's playing Naturalize. I could see that would be this would be a matchup where that might be useful, but still, I mean, Naturalize. It just feels so bad to give your opponent 2 cards. Oh, I mean, it feels like a dead turn. You don't enjoy letting things go without anything on the field, especially when your opponent's going to follow it up by dropping a 3/6 taunt. Sky probably looking to start building out that field of tokens, but concerned about how much everything's going to be removed as he drops it right now.
And they both have gained a lot of mana within a short amount of turns.
Yes.
They both really want to get into that late game pretty early
Yes.
into the match.
Yeah, and Sky needs the late game, not for necessarily any individual expensive card, but for the ability to play a number of cards in succession.
Okay. He's got 2 creatures with taunt out, both with 3 health. That will help him a little bit. We'll see if Great Gnarby will be able to take all these creatures out so he could set up more taunt creatures in the later turns.
Interesting. Leaving 5 mana floating. Sky's going to be able to clear off what Great Gnarby has for now, but that appears to be effectively all he's going to manage to do for the entire turn. And Great Gnarby is really starting to hit his stride now. At turns 8 and 9 is really where he manages to drop the bombs that his deck is built around.
Now this is the Lich King, you said?
Yes, and that's I mean, it's pure card advantage.
And he's also, I did not notice this at first. He's a taunt card too.
Yes.
8/8 with taunt that also summons special cards for you.
Now, to be fair, an 8/8 taunt for 8 has been in the game since the very beginning, and it's never been a particularly good card. But the Lich King has his other effects really up him to a different level.
Too bad they're all dead. Field wipes, I mean, they happen. We've seen them.
Sky drew
Druids.
5 cards last turn, though. I mean, he's got a handful of options.
And I haven't really seen either Sky or Gnarby lose a lot of cards in their hand. They had decent hands, and they have decent mana pools.
Yes.
This is pretty even.
Druids do not run out of resources at this point.
Do you think we would come to a fatigue timer in this kind of match?
No. This game will definitely be decided before fatigue. I mean, there will come a time where either Sky manages to combo out or Great Gnarby builds an impenetrable wall, and whichever one happens first will decide the game.
Because yeah, I mean, now that I think about it, they haven't really drawn a lot of cards in succession. It's more about them building their walls and gaining a lot of mana fast.
Yes.
And speaking of which, Gnarby has a huge wall, the 4/8 taunt that came on the battlefield. And he's got a 3/7 that I'm not entirely sure what it does. I've seen it before. Doesn't it summon a little bit more spiders if it dies? Or...
Yeah, I believe it summons taunt spiders when it dies. Sky going for full combos now.
Here it comes. This is what I've been waiting for. I've been wanting to see this huge thing. I want to see it.
The full combo, effectively.
Full combo.
Yeah. Considering he might have one other spell in his hand that he's looking at casting, but the field is sort of full up on minions, so it wouldn't. The Violet teacher would not afford him any extra advantage if he were to do so.
Oh, you have a certain amount of minions you can have on the field?
Yes, 7 is the maximum amount.
I did not know that. I was expecting to see 50 minions on there. I wanted to see the max.
Hearthstone does not allow for those sorts of shenanigans. Great Gnarby obviously worried about potential for Savage Roar. I mean, we're looking at... okay, that's going to definitely buy him more time. And that's going to buy even more time, even if it draws Sky a couple of cards.
What did that do? That just killed him and gave...
Yes, he killed his own creature so that he could get back. That's right. Not that's right. It doesn't bring spider taunts. It brings, I think, all of his dead taunts back.
That is a very scary combination. Luckily for Sky, that 4/8 that dropped didn't do the damage that it normally would if it was played from his hand. Does the effect from the Lich King still come into effect since it's a every turn thing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it'd be very interesting to see how Sky is going to handle this next turn.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely been dealing with more struggles with his token druid than we saw throughout much of the early matches he was playing.
All right, so he's buffed his minions so far. He's giving himself a little bit more armor. He's trying to prepare himself for going after these taunts. He wants to make sure that he can kill them all and wipe the field.
Yeah, it feels terrible to have to make those big trades when you'd really much prefer to just sort of... Oh... Yep. So the spiders only fill up your field to the point where you are even with your opponent in number of minions, and so you just paid 6 mana for a 1/5 taunt.
Oh no.
And that could be a really crucial mistake. I mean, that could cost Sky the game. Great Gnarby looking to get as full of a clear as he can. Probably debating whether he wants to actually trade that 3/1 in. Okay, he's going to go ahead and kill that. And then take the 5/1 to the face, and at this point likely start trying to put some pressure on Sky. And Sky's in a tough spot now. I mean, that was one of his best comeback mechanics, and it's just gone now. He's going to be able to clear the largest taunt on the field, but we're still looking at several others. Gonna get a couple of 1/5s there, yeah.
This time he's able to pull off and get more of it rather than last turn where he's only able to get 1 taunt.
But certainly Great Gnarby is not terribly concerned about those right now. They don't present a major
Especially
threat
with
to
the
his
amount
field.
yeah. with the amount of resources he has in his hand, he's got more cards. He's going to be able to play so much more out of this.
And that's a nice weapon to have picked up from the Lich King.
So what does that weapon do?
I'm not sure what its death rattle is, but I mean, a 5/3 is going to just clear its way through everything.
Yeah.
Sky at a major disadvantage at this point.
Gunnar,
Even with the, I mean, he's used both copies of Spreading Plague. Whispering Woods can allow him to refill the field again, but it doesn't seem like he's got what he needs to. Well, it's a full field.
You got full field. He will. It does seem that if he attacks next turn, he will be able to wipe the other side of the field. But we'll have to see.
But that's not enough. I mean, he's got to be leveraging this field to finish the game. He's running out of the ability to refill his field now.
Yeah, he's running low cards on his deck, and I don't know.
One mana, 6 damage, seems good.
That's a great card.
It really genuinely is.
Just gives it reminds me of Lightning Bolt in Magic. 1 mana for 3 damage, and that can just wipe a card out, and pretty simple. But it's gonna be hard to come back from this.
Yeah, yeah.
Gennarby's-
I mean, this is what we were talking about. There comes a point where Grenarby was going to just potentially have a wall of taunt that Sky was not going to be able to get through, and I think we have reached that promised land. More 1/1s, but I mean, he's only getting 2 this time. 4 for a pair of 1/1s is not exactly a high value. Going to have to Savage Roar to clear the field.
It's not the most optimal thing to do, but there's what else can you do?
Mm-hmm. Do a little bit of trading there. Hit face for 8. Drops Gennarby down to 15, but he's got a hand full of cards.
And then Sky's only got 1.
And Sky's down to 5 cards in his entire deck.
Unless there's something hidden in there that we don't know about, I want to say Gennarby's got this in the bag.
And that just, I mean, how do you get past that?
There is not.
It's the combo. That's a combo dream.
Jeez Louise. I have. Wow.
Frostmourne's going to get its death rattle off. Looks like that puts a card back in the hand.
We see a field wipe. Maybe 8 damage to every creature.
Yeah, I don't think that's in Druid's arsenal.
He's looking around. He's shifting.
This guy's considering, I think, what he has left in his deck, if there's any possibility at all that he can still do anything within this game. Is there some level of incredible misplay that Greg Gennarby could make that would suddenly allow him to turn it around? But I think there's just a question of raw damage. He's going to go ahead and draw the cards, see what he does have left.
Gennarby could always just
Pull out
hit
the
next
Savage
turn by
Roar.
accident a couple times.
Yeah. Even then, I think the fatigue would kill Sky before he managed to do anything else.
Yeah. And he can't even, because he can't even hit Gennarby. He has to kill all the taunt creatures, and now he's only got 1 creature on the field with, I think, 4 total cards left.
Gennarby's going to go ahead, gain more life,
Oh, I think
and
this is
call
lethal.
that lethal, yes.
Yep. G.
And that
G.
ends the first match between Great Gennarby and Sky for finals.
What a game.
So that was the end of the first.
That was the end of the first Extra Life.
Yeah.
So I think if the players are all right with it, do you guys want to take a break?
I'm just gonna go this real quick and get back in it.
Got it. All right, so we're going to take one more short break before we move into the genuine, true final match of the day. One more time, we will be watching Great Gennarby versus Sky, and then we will find out who the true champion is. All right, and we're back, and we're going to get into the final match of the day. Sky versus the Great Gnarby for the third time.
I wonder if we're going to see any shenanigans going up in here.
I'm sure we will see a number of decks that we have seen a number of times. All right, we're going to start with the Druid v Druid mirror match once again.
Ooh.
Sky feeling confident that this time he might be able to get through before the taunts go up. Great Gnarby going to get to go first. Gonna pass. Sky looking at his hand. We get some very good sportsmanship there. Very good sportsmanship. Druids generally don't have a ton to do on turn 1, but Sky does have the coin, so he might use that to pull out one of the 2-drops. Okay.
There's the coin.
For wild growth.
All
Always
right.
sort of a funny thing to do.
Is there a funny thing to do?
It's just because you're using your 1 extra mana to
Gain a mana.
propel yourself ahead in the... It's almost like you went first, really.
Yeah.
Sky now on 3 mana, gonna start building out that field as quick as he possibly can. Drop Power of the Wild, get a 3-2 on the field.
Alright. Now, do you think it's a good decision of him to have the 3-2 when usually he wants to buff a lot of his creatures right away?
I think he is correct that he needs to build board presence quickly.
Okay.
I think that's his number 1 priority right now. He's got to be able to make it so that he's not going to be stuck in the same position he was last time, where he was just constantly behind and trying to work through the unending wall of taunts that Gnarby was able to pull out. And already Gnarby has begun that sort of transition. 4 for a 3/6 taunt is high value. Sky is likely going to see if he can use... Alright, he's going to go ahead and nourish for the mana. He's going to hero power up and pass. Not going to go for any kind of trades. Wouldn't have been able to make it happen anyway.
He's going to have 2 up on the mana scale. He's got 7 compared to the 5 from
Yes,
Gnarby.
he is racing ahead. Gnarby's going to go ahead and nourish his own for to try and keep up there, as well as get up to that 8 and 9 level, where so many of his biggest threats start to pop up.
So like what you said, I think what this guy is trying to do is he's trying to go as fast as possible and build that board.
Oh, and he just
before-
nourished again for mana.
Oh my. So he's just going all out. I mean,
Whatever it is he wants to do, he's going to need 10 mana to do it, is what I'm understanding from that play.
it could be a full combo, if for all we know.
Still stuck at just a pair of 2/3s. I'm not entirely sure why Gnarby hasn't actually been taking advantage of his value to get rid of it. But I mean, that's obviously why he wanted 10 mana. Drawing 5 cards is better than 3.
And now he's got a maximum hand advantage. The mana scale is not really in his favor as much anymore, and
Man,
Gnarby's
Master Oak
really he's just grabbing a hold. He's grasping the taunt wall. Like, he's got so much going for him at the moment.
He can so consistently get down this field. It's sort of shocking.
And his strike doesn't really seem like it's going to do much. He's going to keep drawing cards. That was a 0 cost draw card, right?
No, it was part of the effect of the card he'd played previously. He's going to Whispering Wood to fill the field with 1/1s.
And do you think you'd buff him? Deal 6 damage to a minion.
Sure.
Alright.
Gets rid of that
Now-
card that would otherwise continue to fill the field.
Oh, okay, that card would have filled the field. I was wondering why he wouldn't do that to a taunt. But that makes sense then.
Great Gnarby taking a look at the field and saying, yeah, I can clear that.
Oh no.
Gonna go ahead and Wild Growth for the card. And then hit face. And right off the bat, I mean, the Token Druid is looking like it might go 0-3 against Great Gnarby.
Yeah, I think after this game, Sky's gonna have to reevaluate what he's gonna be playing.
He's going to successfully refill his field. Very good, RB. Unafraid to let that spider's life total drop. Probably going to be pretty happy when he gets back a bunch of taunts off it.
Yeah, especially since a lot of his taunts have died. Sky's cleared a lot of them, and then once that spider dies, it's going to be... he's just going to get his army back.
Yeah.
I really like the combo coming from Gnarby. He built this deck pretty well wrapped around the taunts.
And it will be difficult for any particularly aggressive deck to get through, which is what we've heard Sky say was his focus in picking decks today, was to sort of go for a more aggressive build style.
And do you think that even though this is an aggressive deck, the fact that it's a druid deck, it takes it a little slower pace to the aggressiveness?
I think that's hard to know. I guess, yeah, I would agree that probably what we've seen of his rogue and his paladin is faster than the druid is, but you know, the druid normally feels like he can rely on the combo to sort of end the game on turn 8, 9 if he gets a particularly good start to it.
It just doesn't seem like he's gotten the combo that frequently. Not frequently enough to where he can win the game.
No.
And he did get the combo last game, but it was too late at that point.
Gnarby considering, I think, killing the spider right now. Definitely wants to clear off that 2-2. Just thinking about how the best way to do it is. Okay. Gonna go ahead and get back 4 major taunts.
This is looking pretty grim for Sky at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, if he doesn't have proper, like, he doesn't have the same board wipe potential that a paladin would have in this situation, and that's going to really sort of make him struggle.
Now, do you think there's any way that he could come back from this?
I think there is certainly some possibility still. He would have to be fairly fortunate. He would have to be able to. He would have to use at least one rush, I think, to clear out Gnarby's field, and he would have to deal with what Gnarby's going to continue to drop afterwards. But if he can achieve all of those things, it's possible that he could still do something here. I think it's part of why we see him continuing to work on clearing the field if he can. Savage Roar, that's the card I was trying to say earlier, will be probably the deciding factor if he can pull something out with that. But yeah, nourishing here, refilling the hand with 3 more cards, it just makes it hard to keep up.
It just gives him more chances to get a lot more of what he wants.
Yep.
And
I think he's probably going to successfully clear the field here. That Wrath was a really useful draw for Gnarby. He's got the ability to easily clear everything.
man, there we go.
Yeah, I mean, ahead in all ways. That's just difficult to overcome. Once those taunt walls go down, that's sort of the end of it. Get some 1/5s down. It's a big play.
It helps that they have taunt, just so that he can give him more time to go through the process of building up his army again. That swipe will help just a little bit. I mean, it'll weaken the enemy, but it won't kill any of them. So hopefully he'll be able to do something.
And Gnarby has just a handful of tools, all of which are going to help him get through this most recent batch of creatures. And continue, yeah, obviously, to build his life total. He's at 47 effectively now.
It's going to be hard to chunk his health. I don't think he's taking any damage this game either. No. I think Gnarby had a really good starting hand that led him to get into this build.
And he's just been very consistently capable of keeping Sky's field clear, keeping volatility low, and maintaining generally a state of pressure.
Okay.
I could help. I could help. He's going to manage to probably refill his field again. But I don't know how many more times he can pull it off. I think Ganarvi's best play here is probably just to continue to keep the field clear, keep moving ahead. Looks like what he's going to do. He's going to get another 15 damage in.
Yep.
Gain more life, solidify that ending.
Let's go for the perfect. I mean, I don't think there's much Sky can do. I don't see this turning out well for him. I think he'll have to think. He's going to have to start thinking about next game and what if he was going to go for the Paladin or if he'll go for Rogue or the Rogue.
Yeah, because I think you're right. It doesn't seem like this Druid has any ability to win the mirror match.
And there we go. He conceded the game. That's the first game for Ganarvi.
So that's game number 1 of the final match to Great Ganarvi. And he has certainly had a lot of success with this Taunt Druid since we've been seeing the rematches. And it's not a huge surprise that he's going to go ahead and stick with it.
And then this time, Sky is going to go with the Rogue, try to go speed things up, try to go quick on him.
I'm sure, yeah, moving as fast as he possibly can.
Mm-hmm. And then his Druid deck was really fast. It seemed like he had to start out 3 turns in, and then he could pick up the pace. But with the Rogue, he could probably take a turn 1 or turn 2.
I mean, any deck that doesn't really start dropping threats until turn 3 or 4 is probably not going to be fast enough to deal with that taunt wall.
And especially with the amount of,
in comparison, getting some threats down on the field turn 1, while Great Ganarvi still, because he's in a slower deck, is not going to be doing anything on turn 1.
Ganarvi's probably not going to be able to do anything until probably turn 3 now.
He'll have, obviously, his hero power on turn 2, which is a nice bit of consistency, but, I mean, against Divine Shield, I guess you clear it off, and then you just sort of move on from there.
Yep. He's going to be able to chunk you out for 3 damage this turn. Sky's going to be able to, yeah.
And that assumes Sky does nothing else.
True.
Alright, alright.
Now, do you have to spend mana to use your attack from your character?
No, but it will cost the weapon some amount of value.
Okay.
Gets down a 3/6 taunt on turn 3. That's a big deal. Sky gonna go ahead, buff up his weapon.
Okay.
Use SI7 to clear that as quick as he can. That's good tempo as a rogue.
For sure, and especially since he's only got 1 taunt on the field, he's able to clear it out right away, and he doesn't have to worry about any other taunts that are going to affect him. As long as Sky can clear out a taunt each turn without there being an additional taunt, I think he can win this match.
Yeah, we will see exactly how that's going to work out. I mean, Tempo Rogue has been a deck in the game for a long time, and it seems like he might well have the ability to really maintain the clear he needs to just deal damage every turn.
And I mean, it's turning out really well for Sky this game already. He's already been able to take out so many more taunts than he's been able to.
Does that Wind Fury work this turn? Oh, it does. That's crazy.
What does Wind Fury do?
It can attack twice each turn.
Holy cow. Alright, so it looks like he's added poison to him. I don't know what that exactly does. Is that poison?
So any creature that it deals damage to will die immediately, regardless of... So, I mean, that's huge against taunt, obviously.
Oh, yeah. So Ganarvi's going to have to do something quick about that poison.
But he can't... I mean, he can't target it.
Why can't he target it?
One of its first adaptation was to make it untargetable by Great Ganarvi's spells.
Oh my, so he's gonna have to hit it with creatures, and
Yes.
he's got nothing at the moment. This is a bit tricky.
So certainly this game is turning out very differently from the first one. I think Sky has successfully managed to get down some fairly significant board presence and pressure Great Ganarvi in spite of the 3/6 taunts he's been dropping. And Great Gennari effectively just sort of had to pass. I think he went for the mana, but that's going to allow this adaptive creature to adapt twice more thanks to the Wind Fury. Divine Shield, making it now even more effective as a tool to clear out those taunts.
Just giving it abilities upon abilities.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do against that thing. And now he's got 2 more.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Oh my lord.
And this game moved obviously very quickly. We're going to be done potentially before Great Gennari has a chance to drop any of those huge taunts that would normally secure him his win.
It makes you wonder if you think Gennari's going to play with the Druid again. He's been playing really well with it, and this is probably only the second time he's ever lost with it.
But I mean, part of this is also, there's the element of luck. Gennari may want to rely on the rogue not getting quite as effective of an opening hand next round. Maybe the Druid can pull out the win against this deck if the wins are just a little bit different.
Oh, definitely. And it didn't seem like Gennari had the mana cards drawn this time.
Sure, no wild growth in his opening hand is a huge issue. He's going to go ahead and gain, I think, 24 armor here, though? So, I mean, maybe that gives him the stall he needs.
And if he gets enough stall, he could pull this back around.
5, 9, 10, 10 plus 6, 16, 16 plus 2 is 18. So he's got 18 damage on the field right now. We're going to see if he's going to add 2 to that, so that's 20. I wasn't counting the Wind Fury, though. So, actually, that Wind Fury buffing that is going to make that a 14 damage minion on this turn alone. Plus another 3 attack right there.
You think this could be lethal?
That's lethal.
I think it is.
Yeah.
When you get to +1, yeah, there we go.
Yep, that card is just, if it is not answered immediately, it is fully capable of getting out of hand.
Holy
becoming the
cow.
single deciding factor for the game in some ways.
That was one of our shortest matches, too.
Well, that's what happens when an aggro deck gets its roll.
So what is it, 1-1?
1-1. So we will see. Great Gennari obviously is going to be sort of considering his options here. What's the best way to answer this? Is Sky going to be playing his rogue again? After, I mean, it had an extremely successful game there. He might be happy to play it again, and it is. We're going to get exactly the same match. Each man feels very confident that his deck is fully capable of winning this.
All right, and then we'll see if maybe luck will be with Gennari this time. Maybe he'll draw something that gives him more mana early on in the game.
Very curious to see. Baku, as always.
Now, does Baku always start off in your hand?
It's not in his hand. It has an effect as long as it is in the deck.
Okay.
Sky gonna use the coin to try and leverage out that pressure as quick as he can. Get the poison daggers up.
Especially since he's a rogue, the coin is going to really help him get his early pressure on.
Yeah.
Maybe not the weapon. I don't know how effective using it for a weapon is compared to playing a creature and getting something on the battlefield right away, but it sure is going to give him 2 extra damage.
And dealing, 6 damage? Turn 3? Turn 2?
Yeah, that's pretty meaty.
You gonna go with the face or no? No, he's gonna save his charges. Okay.
So why would you want to save your charges?
I think probably in case Gennari drops a 3/6 taunt on turn 4 again.
Oh, so he can hit. Okay, yeah.
Going to drop the Vicious Fledgling, hoping that will be able to go out of hand as effectively as it had last game.
Now, what did you say Adapt does again?
It gives you the ability to discover a various number of potential add-ons to the creature.
Okay.
And that
So
Vicious
pretty much-
Fledgling gets to adapt every time it attacks the opponent.
All right. So, speaking MTG, you would be saying like I'm giving an enchantment to it each turn.
I suppose that's a way to look at it, yeah.
Okay. But I don't think it's gonna happen with it dying.
But I mean that also is sort of to Sky's advantage. He's managed to turn Great Gennari's turn 4, which could have been him building his board out, into a turn of dealing with an obviously
no.
dangerous threat.
Very true, because you could could have played any taunt creature if he had any. There would have been more creatures on the field, but instead he had to waste his turn killing the adept creature and not putting anything on the field, leaving him wide open.
And he's going to naturalize it, which, I mean, is necessary, obviously. It would get out of hand otherwise, but it does give Sky more fuel, and there's very... You don't want to be giving aggro decks cards. Their biggest flaw is that they run out of fuel so quickly, and so if you're giving them cards, a lot of times you're going to find yourself on the wrong end of a card that you gave them.
Now, how many cards, duplicates, can you have in a deck?
2 copies of each card.
2 copies?
So
okay.
we will not see another Vicious Fledgling out of Sky. It is, unless he's running some card that can bring it back or give him another copy in some way, but it is, yeah, it's very unlikely.
That's very beneficial for Gnarby right now.
Yes, yes. He is happy to see them go.
I'd have to say that was his biggest Horcrux from last game. So,
I mean,
now it's up in the air who's going to win.
Sky definitely wanting to get rid of that taunt again. Trying to play as tempo focused as he can. We'll probably want to use his hero power so he can keep buffing up that 4/4. And then that allows him to keep filling the field and dealing damage. There you go. That's going to be another 6 to the face, almost chews through all that armor. Great Gnarby hoping to clear this turn if possible, I'm sure. Doesn't want to leave multiple 5-attack minions up. That's going to be a lot of pressure otherwise.
I mean, if he takes 10 damage, he'll be down to 7 health, and that could lead to a lot of problems, especially with that aggro deck.
Yeah, definitely.
It looks like he's thinking really quite a bit about this.
Now that is ballsy. Gonna go for mana, try to get himself up to 9 and 10. Hopefully next turn, really do what he can to solidify his board presence, but
Giving himself armor, he will be able to survive this turn, it seems, unless...
Well, we'll see. I mean, it depends on he's effectively given Sky a free turn to just sort of hit him in the face. He's got 29 health, but
with 7 mana, you can do so many things.
10 plus 2 is plus.
There's that.
Okay, all right. Oh, I think maybe a misplay from Sky. He should have attacked with his hero first. That would have given him 1 extra damage.
Oh my.
It may not come down to that in the end, but if it does, that could be the deciding factor. And you never want little mistakes like that to be what decides the game. Great Gnarby going to fill out his field with the taunts that he can get off of there. Oh, but he didn't get any taunts. Oh, okay, there you go. Only gives him 2 though, the 3/6s. But now,
But now he's got a 4/8.
So he's managed to really churn out a rather terrifying field now.
I will say Sky is pretty lucky that the 4/8 wasn't played from his hand. And so his field's still fine. We'll see if he's able to do anything.
Silence.
So what does silence do? Can he not...
Removes all special effects, just reduces the creature to raw stats.
Okay. So I wonder why he would do it to that creature.
Because he's, I think, hoping to just get through the damage. He's in full damage mode. He wants to try and murder Great Gnarby as soon as he can.
I did not notice that I got rid of the taunt.
Yes, just raw stats.
Okay.
Uses Leroy to clear there, clears there, and then, is that lethal? That's lethal.
Oh my goodness.
The Druid taking another game against Taunt, or the Rogue taking another game against Taunt Druid.
GG.
That makes it 2-1 in Sky's favor, and definitely putting the damper on Gnarby's feelings about this Taunt Druid. Probably just not going to be able to deal with the Rogue.
Let's get something spicy.
So, Sky now. also sort of having to decide if, what are the odds that Gennarby plays the Taunt Druid again? If he plays another deck, is the Rogue going to be quite as good against it? Difficult decisions from a purely mind games perspective.
And I feel like this really draws into perspective, like in tournaments, you have to outthink your opponent even before you play the game.
Yeah.
You have to imagine, okay, what deck is he gonna run?
And it becomes a little bit, you get a little bit more control over it in Conqueror format, which is the standard, where if you if you lose with a deck, then if you win with a deck, then you can't use that deck again.
Okay.
So our tournament, being a little bit different, introduces a few more mind games to it.
I think this adds a lot more suspense to the game too, if you're able to just play those mind games with the other player.
And there is a great deal of suspense right here. If Sky wins this game, that's the match. That's the end of the tournament.
But Gennarby did switch his deck. He is going a Shaman. I don't know if it's faster pace or not. I'm not.
Getting a little bit of outside chat into our Twitch stream.
At least it was a stick.
Great Gennarby going to immediately buff his entire deck. That getting the Prince in his opening hand is obviously a major value to him.
Now, I cannot really remember how quick is a Shaman deck compared to a Druid deck.
Oh, that's difficult to say depending on the deck. I think what we've seen is that this Shaman deck is largely very tempo focused. Cards like this one, where he's going to successfully use it to just sort of slow down his opponent's ability to deal damage,
Like with the freeze. So
while also building his own field.
it really does hinder Sky's ability to use his tempo to his advantage, because with all the frozen creatures, he won't be able to attack.
Right.
And
at the same time, Gennarby manages to get down cards like this, which have been buffed by the Prince and are now larger than they were meant to be initially.
okay. And what does the Prince buff do? Just give him plus
one to every creature in the deck.
That is very nice.
Yeah.
And especially, like you said, getting it turn one, being able to play it, and now he's able to get massive amount of creatures down.
Sky is going to just sort of deal some serious damage,
Holy
though.
cow.
He's got the ability to really throw down some major threats.
And it might not matter, yeah.
Reduced Great Gennarby already to 20 health.
And the fact that Gennarby does not have any taunts, he can't really... Well, except for
that's
these
fair,
two.
I think.
I guess those two. It doesn't... I mean, it's definitely not as much as his Druid deck. He's not going to be able to block the incoming damage. But we might see some different plays come out from this deck.
Sky making some small trades. Deal another 6 damage. Reduce his opponent to 14.
Oh my. This could come to lethal pretty soon here.
It's true. It's true. Great Gennarby being threatened with lethal. Going to go ahead and clear the board.
I mean, it's his best option. He's getting really low, and I don't see him coming back with a field like that.
Yeah, the question is going to be, is Sky going to be able to immediately refill the board with more threats and start laying into him? Also, it's worth noting that Great Gennarby with that card has locked himself out of 2 mana next turn, so he will only have 4 available. Oh, an unfortunate play. We've seen a couple of times today just a little bit of sloppiness out of Sky. Some very obvious sort of misplays.
And it could cost him the game. You never know. Now, what is that golden shield? Does that just mean he got more?
Oh, it's just the card itself is gold, so its taunt shield is also gold.
Ah, I see. A couple more slip-ups from Sky, then this game could be totally reversed. But I don't know, since I haven't seen the Shaman deck too much today, only the Druid decks.
You're right. I mean, it's hard to know exactly what the Shaman deck is completely capable of. Sky gonna keep working to fill out his field with potential threats.
This is getting really scary. I'm shaking in my boots.
Gnarby does have a pretty full hand, though. I mean, he has a lot of options on how to approach this field. Oh, okay. So he's going to be able to successfully cast Lightning Storm twice, thanks to the effect from the legend that he just dropped. That'll lock him down double as well for turn 8, but has completely cleared Sky's field and left Gnarby with a 4/4 to sort of guard. But I mean, Sky has gotten Gnarby down to 10. If the main thing he's looking to do here is just sort of finish out the game, and he might end up relying just on those poison daggers and the clock that can turn out. And of course, the ever-present threat of the vicious fledgling. Yes, yes. But here comes the taunt. The clock is not quite so easy to get through that. Oh, I mean, here's Baku just sort of hanging out. Just a 7/8 here.
Just chilling.
But yeah, I mean, I guess that's relatively useful. Gnarby, considering what he should do, decides that more than anything else he needs to remove that 7/8, even if it means removing his own taunt, putting himself back on that initial hero power clock. And now the clock is even shorter, a 1-turn clock. Oh, and depending on whatever card Sky may have in hand, it could be done right here. Nope. Okay, he's got 1 turn to figure this out.
It's all or nothing, baby.
Greg Gnarby has some very funny options available to him. He's going to go ahead and use his hero power. Doesn't get the taunt totem he was likely hoping for. And that's it. That's the game. That's the match.
That's it?
That's the tournament.
GG.
3-1 to Sky, pulling it out right at the end with the row, game after game after game. And that
I will say that was a great series from them. I mean, both of them neck and neck. They Gnarby got him out of losers into the final.
I mean, we got to see so many individual games between these two players, really deciding who was going to be the successor by the end, doing effectively a best out of 10 to decide the best player, and that is just genuinely amazing. So I think we're looking forward to congratulating them on their win, and thank you all for tuning in today.
In a perfect world, it would have been token druid or taunt druid every game. That's my favorite.
Just want to thank everyone for tuning in today. I want to thank our sponsors, Video Games Etc., St. Ambrose, Intel, and Respawn. And who?
Alorca.
And Alorca as well. Without them, we couldn't really host these tournaments. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you all for coming in tonight. Even though there might not have been as many people today, we appreciate your tuning in and listening or even watching us play this great Hearthstone game. And with that, I think we're going to leave it be and we're going to cut the stream. So thank you.